I'm a very inquisitive person by nature. I love stories, real life stories, reading biographies and hearing about what makes successful people tick. I wanted to sit with individuals who inspire you and I, look into their core beliefs, habits and life journey and purpose. We're currently in a world of social media where everyone is putting their best on display. I want people to let us know what it's really like when you feel like you're not winning. What sacrifices have they had to make in order to win? I hope their stories will inspire, encourage, and motivate you not to give up on your dreams. We are going to be digging deep on My Story with Esther.
I'm feeling mischievous now, you know. All right.
Yeah, so it seems like with the series, I've been interviewing people that I met like 10 years ago. And I remember meeting you at Screen Nation when it was quite grand back then at Hilton.
Yeah, what?
You were one of my first interviews.
Paddington
Yes.
Hilton. Yeah, that's
One
right.
of my first interviews.
Wow.
And I think just then maybe Footballers' Wives it just kind of ended. I can't remember. How long
Right.
was Footballers' Wives on for?
Damn, Footballers' Wives. Okay, we're talking that. I think the last episode or last series probably was 2005, 6.
Okay.
So that means that this is even further back than 10
maybe
years then.
3 years after that.
Yeah.
I then met you at Screen Nation.
Yeah.
And then we all knew you as Curtis. Curtis. And suddenly like all these black people were on TV.
Yeah.
They had you had the girl who was a model, I can't remember her name.
Damn.
Who was
Oh
playing
yes.
your wife.
Fina Oruchi.
Yes.
Yes.
The two Igbo people.
Fire. There's a lot of fire on that set, man. You better believe it.
And we were like, okay, what's this guy?
But it was beautiful because obviously at that time, you know, at that time the show never had two black leads.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And a couple at that. Usually it was a mix. You know what I mean, to cater to both demographics as it were. But they decided to, by their own admission, take a risk. And change the kind of general structure of the show. And so when we both went up for it, and to have two beautiful black, dark skin, that is, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? And people that just people that that's they look like us. I can relate to that. And then we had the wedding. And I always remember saying to people, because some people, there was the Egyptian themed wedding. And what happened was, it was Egyptian in its entirety, down to plimps, Fina, her character Liberty Baker, being, brought to the altar, as it were, by a plinth and whatnot. And, this ceremonially dressed, priest, doing the vows. And I remember some people found that funny and they were offended by that. And I said, no, why should you be offended by that? Don't be fooled by this westernized culture. Yes, general matrimonial, ceremonial dressing, that's what we used to do. Do you know what I mean? Before before history had an effect on us and we ended up here, that's how we used to celebrate, celebrate unionship. So, it was beautiful.
I loved it.
It was a beautiful thing.
So it was meant to be 2 episodes, but it went on for how many years or how many more episodes?
It went on, that was, series 5, which is the time when I jumped in. That was, we had about 8 episodes, 9 episodes,
nice.
yeah.
So that was your first big break?
That was the first big break. Prior to that was Dream Team. Dream Team was,
Dream Team?
Dream Team was that was a show that ran for about 10 years on Sky One.
Okay.
And that was generating, I think, about 1 million viewers, if I remember correctly. And at that point, I was 3 years in the game as an actor, trying to just make my way. And then that came along, that one. And
that's quite lucky, 3 years in the game. And
it was crazy. And at that time as well, we didn't have the internet. The internet was still very much in its infancy. And we didn't have electronic emails and that was sent hard copy, you know what I mean? If you wanted to send anything to America, you got to post that way. So I remember when I got that break and, I just ran away with it. And I did 3 years on that show.
Yeah. But before you got to that point, what made you become an actor? Why?
You know what, it's one of those weird ones because when I was a young lad, young whippersnapper, I was a young whippersnapper. I was crazy, just I was a nutbag in you know, Northwest London, Mozart Estate. You know,
No.
I was a Mozart, yeah.
Isn't that one of the dangerous estates?
Yeah, man, one of them dangerous estates. You know what I mean? Shout out to Fredo.
Was there all this stuff with knife crime? There wasn't enough knife crime.
It was, I mean, there was knife culture, but it wasn't as,
Problematic.
it wasn't as problematic. Let's just say that it was more that.
Oh.
That, yeah, you know what I mean? You know, I had close encounters myself, and luckily, it wasn't that.
So
but yeah, Mozart Estate. Yeah, I was, you know, imagine I was still in amongst it, but like I remember the moment I wanted to be an actor. I guess was it was a chance encounter. One of my friends, he had a video camera, and we were in Queen's Park at the time, big park. It's next to the Queen's Park station, and he just said, "Listen, man, let's just create a little scene." You know what I mean? Yeah, you pretend that you're a debt collector and you got to pick up this money from this guy, right? And he gave it a beginning, middle, and end. And I remember thinking, all right, cool. I thought nothing of it.
Yeah.
Action, did the scene, came back. At that point, I wasn't, honestly, for me, I was just playing the role. I didn't think anything of it. There was no pressure. It was just fun.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend, whose advice, his word I really respected. His name's James Samuel, by the way. And very much so, you know, James Samuel. His brother Seal. And we all, the singer Seal, we all grew up in the same area. Yeah, he said, yeah, Chucky, you can act. You should seriously think about doing it. And it was one of those ones where I thought, wow, I never really thought about it. Because my whole thing was I was an athlete. I always thought I was going to get involved in like personal training, or that was where I was geared towards, and that was my route. I was, you know, focused on that. And I thought, you know what? Never really thought about taking it seriously. I enjoyed messing about and, you know, playing the clown, but I never thought about that. So I said, you know what? Let me dedicate 1 year to it. Okay. I was 19 at the time, so I was still. Were you by yourself at the time then, or were you still living with your parents? I was still living with my parents. Did you talk to your parents about it? Yeah, and I know they weren't happy about it. That's for sure. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, you know, as a whole doctor, lawyer, something. But you know, that wasn't my calling. And I remember the first day, I decided to study performing arts, BTEC. And I remember the first day we went in and we did this scene. And I just remember the feeling I got from that. And I thought, wow, where has this been all my life? Like, my God, I felt like there was this void, and I filled it at that point, but I didn't even realize that void was there. And in that moment I went, now I know what I want to do. And honestly, I took to it like a duck to water, and the rest is history. You know what I mean? I studied for about 3 years, and I went out into the harsh world of the acting business.
And it is, isn't it? It has its ups and downs.
It's ruthless.
It's like I said, presenting. You don't know when the next gig's going to be.
Nah.
Do you ever have this, I don't know, assumption that maybe you're not fit for a certain role, so you're not maybe brave enough to go for it? Have you ever had someone had to persuade you to go for
Never.
Never. You've always had
Because I'm crazy. And you've got to be a bit crazy to be an actor, man. You have to have a couple screws loose. And I love a challenge. I'm one of those kind of people where tell me I can't do it. Yeah. And I'm going to do everything in my power to prove to you I can do it. I'm one of those kind of guys. I'm very determined like that. So, no, I've never had a role like that. Have I been scared about a particular role? Yeah. Saying to myself, oh, can I do it? In the back of my mind, yeah. But then, you know, at the end of the day, the worst thing they can tell me is no. Yeah.
Is there any role you wanted that you didn't get? And you're just like, nah. I could have done a better job than him.
Wow. That's a very good question. Let me think. Role-wise, wow.
Or one that you really wanted and you didn't get.
Do you know the funny thing? The funny thing is, the role I really wanted very early in my career. Thanks, man. Cheers, bro. Easy. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
Hey. The role I really wanted, funny enough, was for a character called Linton Alexander. Okay. Now that may not mean much to many people. Yeah. But it was the role. It was basically a new character that was going to be introduced into Dream Team. Okay. Now the story goes basically I had gone up for that role, and it was between myself and Robbie G, who was a I mean, big actor at the time. I mean, Robbie G, I mean, shout out to Robbie G, you know what I mean? Props to Robbie G, you know, one of the guys that was doing it way before myself, you know what I mean? You know, Real McCoy, he was, you know, foundation. But suffice it, we both gone up for this role. What happened was, initially, I had gone up for, because there was a newsletter called PCR, and in this newsletter, basically, we give you the breakdown of all the lots of roles that are currently being, you know, that people are auditioning for. And I put my little headshot, my CV, you know, like I said, it wasn't electronic at that point, it was all hard copy. So I posted it, and you know, very limited experience. They got back to me and said, Chucky, we'd like to see you. I was shocked, you know what I mean? But that's determination, you know what I mean? And I went for the audition, went really well, had a recall, that went really well. And at this point now, they were due to make the decision. And the casting director, I was in very close communication with her. She contacted me and told me that, Chucky, they're really close. She told me how much I was gonna get, you know, the fee was and everything. I remember I was in West End at the time, and I was like, okay. I was thinking, okay, this is the break. Okay, it's here, okay, cool. Within about 5 minutes, I got a call back. I said, Chucky, it's not gonna go your way. I'm really sorry. They decided to go a different route with it. I was like, what? Devastated. And I really wanted that role. I thought I could play this character. He was a leery Jack the Lad, cool dude, handsome, smooth, you know what I mean? I thought I could play that. And then, I mean, honestly, I was so crestfallen. And I left, I proverbially just licked my wounds. I almost didn't want to even go home in the business. I was thinking, maybe it's not for me, man. You know, if I can't get that, then what? And then, you know, like I said, it was one of those moments. I kind of, you know, it took me a week to really get over that.
Just a week?
Just a week. It was just a week. Because I'm too driven, you know what I mean? Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, nah, man, you know I'm better than that. I know I can do something in this business. I know I can. And not long after that, I did a couple of independent films, and I did my first independent full-length feature. Nighttime shoots, the whole nine. Really, I got a lot of experience from that particular role. I got a call not long after that, and it was from the same casting director from Dream Team. And she told me that the executive producer was looking for me. And at this point, internet started to really take off. They done a little internet search, and they found this independent film I'd worked on. And she asked me, can I come in again to audition for another role? And this particular role was for Linton Alexander. And Robbie G and Cole was there. Cornell S. John, that was another actor. And went up for it. And I remember put it this way, I remember I was very driven, I wanted that particular, I thought this is my second coming. But then the producer, he told me, we want you to try and go for a role playing the younger brother of Linton. And we want Robbie G to read against you. He's going to play Linton, and you're going to play Curtis Alexander. And I remember thinking, oh man, here we go again. I don't want to play the younger brother. I want to play this guy. We went up for it. We you know, improvised this scene. Left, got a call back, and they told me, Chucky, you're not going to get Linton Alexander. And now, come on, man, what's going on? But we want you to play Curtis Alexander. I thought, okay. Now it's only for 2 episodes, but you know, hey, we think it might be a good opportunity for you. Suffice to say, I thought it was only going to be a very short scene, only a couple of lines. I got the script, and it was a whole lot more. I went in, I nailed it, and they offered me a role, long-term contracts, and I ended up doing 3 years. And suffice to say, off that is when my career really kicked off. Yeah, I've dabbled a bit. Yes, it's been treating me fairly well. I mean, you know, I did my first production called Invasion 1897, and you know, that was an incredible experience working on that. Was a great experience, and working with Lancelot and Mesue. It was an historical piece. That's right. It touched on the Benin conflict that took place at that period with the British Empire. And you know, the precious artifacts that were taken, you know, in droves, and which to this day still are in the British museums as we speak, you know, and scattered all around the world. And yeah, it was enlightening for me. I didn't realize that. So when I was doing some of my scenes with that knowledge, in tow, let's just say it was not much action was required.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just not much acting. Not much. And no, it was coming from a real place.
Okay.
The scene I shot in the courtroom. Yeah, I felt very impassioned, fired up, very much so. It was just a violation. It was, I was so offended. I didn't have to dig too deep. The violation was enough for me. Yeah. So, that's sometimes maybe one of the closest in terms of really, really living in the moment and really just living that role. Okay. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Casualty now, man. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road. Doctor. Yeah, man. I'm playing, this year, the kind of maverick nurse. A maverick nurse, okay. Who kind of in a way is a bit left field, but gets the job done. Okay. Albeit with conventional methods.
Did you have to go somewhere?
Occasionally, one does. Yeah, I mean, I've been, this is my 4th year in the show, and, shot many an episode. Yeah. And let's just say, suffice to say, there's been a number of different storylines, Yeah. Yeah.
No, I like that. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're sticking to it. You're being consistent.
Got to, man.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
And a man's not an island, right?
No, absolutely not.
So who are the people that support you through your journey?
It would have to be my wife.
Okay.
My wife is definitely the woman that she's my rock in that sense. Obviously that's someone you can speak vulnerable and speak to her about anything, any misgivings, frustrations, annoyance, anger. It's I can express it with her.
Has she been there from the beginning?
She's been there for a long period, but not from the beginning. Tell her she was there from the beginning. Yeah, okay. When I first got my role on Dream Team, she was there. We were just starting our relationship at that time, so she's been there for a very long period. Yeah. You know what I mean? Tumultuous, been crazy. You know what I mean? Wasn't straightforward, but she's been there. And then of course, second up would be my mother. My superhero. My mother. You know what I mean? Yeah. Any issues I have, I can talk and share it with her, and obviously she'll bless me with divine prayer. As they do, you know what I mean?
There's nothing like a mother's prayer.
Absolutely,
so
man.
Very lucky to have that.
Oh, very much so, very much so. You know what I mean?
And when have you been at your lowest?
My lowest. Wow. Okay. My lowest point. I was in between jobs, and I remember I had made a very unwise investment, and this first time I'm really openly speaking about this. Wow, you see, you're bringing this out of me. And, I made a very unwise investment, quite a few thousand. And, money was tough. It was tough, and it was tight. And, this guy was playing me about, man, playing me about. And, I need that money, really needed it. And he wasn't coughing up. I felt absolutely. Do you know what I mean? With a family to raise and breadwin. Yeah, I felt forlorn, desperate, hurt, vulnerable.
Was it someone close, someone you knew that was doing that you made an investment?
I wouldn't say he was that close, but he was somebody that was vouched for. Okay. It was, and. Because of the trust I had put into this friend of mine at the time, I decided to commit to this investment. And warning signs came, but they came too late. Okay. So that was definitely the lowest period for me, because work was quiet. I mean, very low emotionally on a level for me. You know what I mean? And like I said, it was a struggle to pay bills at that time. It was tough, really, really tough, I think I speak so openly about this just to let people know and understand, you know what I mean, that it can, it can happen. That's reality, and it's important to have something to fall back on, as a personal trainer, you know what I mean, outside of acting. Okay, and it helps, but my client list wasn't that big at the time, so it was very challenging. I really had to stay in there, man. A lot of prayer. A lot of training. A lot of training, man. I needed a lot of that.
I want you to get a bit deeper with me. What was the thought process at that time?
The thought process for me at that time was maybe I may have to seriously kick this in. I may have to just stop with this acting stuff and fully commit to the personal training. You know, maybe get a telephone, operating job. You know what I mean? Telesales. You know, I'll start looking at other avenues now. You know, which was not what I wanted. When I'm obviously, you know, so passionate about this art form and being so lucky to be paid to do what I love, and then all of a sudden, you know, which is the harsh reality of this business. There are peaks and troughs. It can stop at any point, you know what I mean? And you have to make provisions for that. You know, and be wise with investments and what you commit to. You know, I learned so much from that, but at that time, like I said, I literally was prepared to pack it in, you know, and really seriously get a real job.
What made you want to do that? A turning point, what came, what substituted that?
A turning point had to be for me, I got a show. No, in fact, it was a play.
Okay.
A play came. A play, and I remember, Kingston 14 was a play I got, and it definitely reinstilled that vigor and the hunger again and the belief. You know, I'm fairly strong-minded.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it takes a lot for me to think about. I mean, of course, we all feel like quitting, but to seriously consider it. It's one thing to think about it, to actually physically want to actually do it. That's an entirely different thing. And I seriously was at that point. So, I was kind of plucked from the depths of retirement, and I was back in the game again. You know. But that was horrible. That resentment I had as well to that man, you know.
Did you ever get the money back?
Let's just say basically close to it now. Close to it now.
So
you know what I mean?
Paying you back?
Yeah, he's still pissed. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know.
At least it's been paid back.
Yeah. So different times now. See the fire in my eyes. I'm happy about that. But you know.
So you've established that you're happiest in acting. Hence
Most definitely.
Kept you going.
100%. We only have a short shelf life in life itself, right? Think about how long this earth has existed, the universe. We're a blip. If you're lucky, you get 80 years before you kick the bucket, man. And to me, living is doing what it is that you love. And being able, you know, getting paid for it and making a living off that. That to me is, that's living, you know? Don't get me wrong, I'm not frowning upon somebody, obviously, who is getting paid for something they don't necessarily love, of course. You know what I mean?
We all choose our path. We all choose, don't we?
You understand?
Life gives us choices.
100%.
So you do whatever you feel best.
100%. As I just alluded to, right? You know what I mean? It's not always necessarily going to be that way. But I am at peace. I'm at one. I'm at my happiest.
I love it because you're glowing with it.
Oh, 100%, man. That always brings a smile to my face. You know what I mean? When I'm on set, lights, cameras, I come alive. I love that.
Do you get lucky because of your looks?
I think my looks have definitely sounds so contrived. That sounds contrived, man. But you know what? You know, I must admit, as a younger man, I would say, you know, I'm getting older now, you know, I ain't no spring chicken, you know what I mean? Don't be fooled by the youthful looks. But no, you know what? I would say definitely my appearance.
Okay.
My you know what I mean? My outward appearance has helped. It has helped. And then obviously, you know, because of the roles I've been cast for. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've got the typical dark-skinned male look that we see on screen.
Amen. You know what I mean? Amen.
It's good.
I've been very blessed, very lucky. But at the same time, I've been, you know, I have made certain choices with certain roles I've played. I remember playing a character called Eddie in a show called Moving On, which was completely non-dependent. My looks had nothing to do with it. This is a broken man, you know, that was trying to reclaim his life back, living in his brother's son's bedroom, and he just wanted to basically get back to his own family. You know, beard, hair, everything. It wasn't about looks, you know what I mean? And it was important for me to let the audience and my followers know that I'm prepared to do what's necessary for the role.
If you could go back to any age, what age would you like to go back to?
21, I think.
Why?
Because I would go back with a whole lot more experience. There were some choices I made as a 21-year-old man, young, starry-eyed, wannabe actor. I was very underprepared.
Okay.
And there was so much I didn't know. You know, even getting my agent at the time when I got him, I didn't get him through the conventional means.
Okay.
You know, you have to understand, everything I did leading up to my first real role of significance was very unconventional. You know, I was doing acting, modeling, you know what I mean? You know, anything I could to get in music videos, whatever I could to get that name, Chucky Venn, out there, or Chucky Venice at the time.
Yeah.
So,
why Venice?
Your guess is as good as mine, man.
Somebody's going to call yourself Chucky Venice.
But this is my point, young and naive.
Okay.
You know
What's
what
your
I'm
actual
saying?
name?
Charles Venn. Charles Okechukwu Onwara Venn.
Charles?
Okechukwu Onwara Venn.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my full name.
The
Igbo man now. So, you know, those are the things, like I said before, you know, knowing better and just having faith in certain things. I didn't have faith in my name. You know, it's my name. Charles Venn is my name.
I guess being at, what's it called? Moside Estate.
Yeah, Mozart Estate, man,
Moside
definitely.
Estate.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about, you got to conform. I think those times people want to be what? Jamaican?
Yeah, I know. And that's a good word, conform, you're right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I pride myself in being non-conformist. And I very much so was. But when I got in the acting business, yeah, absolutely. I definitely tried to do what I thought was going to work for me. And I thought Chucky standing out amongst the pack was going to help.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to answer that question, 100%.
Because I knew you as Chucky Venice.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You know, I went from Chucky Venice to Chucky Venn to Charles Venn. I mean, my goodness. You worry me, yes. You keep laughing at me, girl. Come on, you know I'm crazy. You shouldn't be surprised, man. Yeah.